morning, everyone. We're actually headed out of Iowa. We're headed to Illinois today. We might even go past there, I don't know. But there's something in Peoria, Illinois that I want to see, and you all are coming along with Daze with Jordan the Lion. It begins right now. Oh boy, surprise, surprise, we have gotten the rain. I woke up to rain and then it stopped and now it's back. Oh my gosh, I just realized we're very close to something, so we're gonna make a detour and go visit some friends of ours from TV. Let's go bundle some stuff. Let's go get a couple of oil cans. All right, we have made it to historic LeClaire, Iowa, birthplace of Buffalo Bill, and also home to Antique Archaeology.
That's right, we're here to see if Mike and, well, Frank ain't gonna be here, we know that, but maybe Mike Wolf will be here, or Danielle or somebody. Let's check out the world famous Antique Archaeology from American Pickers. Oh, we're already starting out with a beauty. We got an old Shell gas pump, an old motorcycle. You know, Mike must have picked that one. I haven't seen the show for a year or two. I know his brother is working on it now, so some of this stuff might have been aired. We just don't know. Yeah, we should probably get an Antique Archaeology shirt too, because they're awesome. Look at those. See if we can cut a deal with them on something. And no matter what they offer, I'll say, come on, you gotta leave some meat on the bone. I love the old signs. We buy junk. This is crazy. It's a 1986 to 89 wrestling book. That is killer. Just all like photos of wrestling matches. Anybody need an awesome barber pole? A bleeder? Even if you're not going to buy anything, this place is just amazing to walk around. For one thing, I just love theme everything, and plus I kind of, you know, always like junk. Cool jacket. Look at that. Here you get a Japanese diving helmet and a chain stitch picture. Some Sesame Street. Oh, that's cool. (1913) Victrola. Crank it over here on the side. Oh, look at that, the big wheel bike. Anybody need any old spurs? Look at that, the racing helmet. That's really cool. Designing your own puppet magazine. Oh my god, this is great, look. Stuffed oil cans. I was joking about that because Frank on the show would always be looking to buy oil cans and old gas cans. They're definitely taking advantage of all the stuff that they talk about on the show, that's for sure. Oh my god, that is awesome. That roll sign, Soldier Field, wow, that is freaking cool. It is $1,500. Says it was from a Chicago bus. But how cool is that? I mean, especially if you're, was that the Bears fan? Wow. Look at the bike. Wow. Oh, he's got some old pictures of it too. Look at this. That one's awesome too. Look at this old Humpty Dumpty pinball machine. And if you need some spare carousel horses, that looks like something Danielle would wear. Look at the bass drum. This bike is not for sale. It actually says part of Mike's personal collection. Look at this little Indian bike. It's a small one. Look at the little kid down here in the picture in it, or on it. How cool is that? That old cash register. And then look at the back of the jacket we were looking at earlier. That is amazing. Exhaust fumes are dangerous. Let us check and replace defective exhaust mufflers. Not seen anything that I can't live without yet. These are cool. Another one from Mike's collection. Legend of the Lost Indian, picked in Springfield, Massachusetts at the birthplace of Indian. Buried. Look at that. Wow.
If you want to, I'm going to try something.
There's Wolf. Look at that jacket they have framed. That is amazing. Look at the use and the years on it. You can even buy picker gloves here. Look at that. Let's go check out the other building. Alright, this is like a gas station. I like this right out front. They have a Thelonious Monk piano. I think I did see that episode. That looks familiar. This is a good pick. Laurel and Hardy, are you kidding me? Those are great. Look at this guy. That's awesome. So is this big giant sign? Oh wow, look at this, the Evel Knievel jacket. Cat would love that. Evel Knievel jacket, not for sale. Look at this place. I like this kind of stuff more. This is where all the good, fun stuff is to look at. Look at that Harley. Wow. And look at that old Indian motorcycle back there. And the Buddy Lee. Believe it or not, this was not our adventure for today, but it turned into it. Wolf's helmet. Man, they have tons of stuff here. Look at that car door. Probably a truck door. Oh, cool, look at this. Call for Philip Morris outfit. That's awesome. I'd love to see that lit up with the colored lights that it has. Cool jacket too. And I just noticed the Philip Morris guy still has his suitcase. When we came in, I didn't see it from the other side, but look. Pretty killer stop here. This is a great place to check out on your road trips. All right, let's get back on the road. So I'm gonna walk over the train tracks because I want to take a look at this. They mentioned this rock when we came into town. It's the LeClaire Freedom Rock. You can see it's got Buffalo Bill on it. Big giant American flag. Scott County, home of the free because of the brave. Nice. John F. Baker, recipient of the Medal of Honor. And one heck of a view. Oh, cool. Take a look at this car up here. Wow. Right here, where the Green Tree Grocer is. Nice. And apparently they have a riverboat here also you can take a ride on. There is our welcome to Illinois, land of Lincoln sign. So I wanted to stop off and check this out. I grew up in a town where it was basically like the hub of Hobart Brothers, and in our town, because Hobart Brothers was known for like steel working and everything, they had steel homes, and I always thought that was an interesting concept, and there's actually one here I want to tell you about. So this was R.G. Letourneau's steel house, and he was actually known as the Dean of Earth Moving and God's businessman. At the urging of Caterpillar Tractor Company, he moved his manufacturing business from California to Peoria. Letourneau discovered the men he hired struggled to find affordable housing in the Peoria area. He conceived and began to build small all-steel homes to address the problem. Between 1936 and 1938, Letourneau's factory built approximately 150 of these homes, marketed as the Carefree Home. About 24 of these structures still exist in the Peoria area. Construction of the homes ceased in 1938 as the demand for steel increased with the beginning of World War II. 2015, this carefree home was discovered on the grounds of the former Laterno factory, then operated by Komatsu America. Never sold, the building was used as manufacturing office with the factory complex. Long abandoned, the house was intended to be scrapped as part of a factory renovation. That is really cool. And then they actually have a statue to RG here. Mover of men and mountains, it says. And we're going to be going to see another statue after this. You can see all the weld marks and everything. One of the things that was always so interesting to me about these homes was that you always had to consider that they could possibly rust, and you also had to consider that you would hold things up with magnets. See, there's a little bit of the rust you have to take into consideration.
Okay, we have entered Peoria County, and we're pretty close to what I really wanted to see today.
How awesome is that statue? That wire work of those two people there, I love that. But that's not what we came to see. This is actually so cool because it feels like going to a cemetery to me. So here in Peoria, they have a statue to the great Richard Pryor, who was from here. And Richard doesn't have a grave. His ashes were given to his family, and to my knowledge, there's never been an official burial place for the great Richard Pryor. A man who not only was amazing in cinema, but if you ask almost any comedian, they will tell you that the greatest comedians to ever do it. I mean, I had the opportunity at one point to spend about 3 years hanging out with comedians from the Comedy Store. Joe Rogan, Joey Diaz, Eric Griffin, Russell Peters, Bill Burr. I got to hang around and listen to them talk about comedy and why it was important and who was the most important. And when any conversation was ever had, they would always say, Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Sam Kinison, those were the most important. And for the Comedy Store in particular, Richard was by far the most important, because when it started and it wasn't really doing well right away, nobody wanted to perform in the big main room, or what the main room is now. But Richard would do it for Mitzi, and he would sell it out. And she saw the brilliance in Richard. You know, he started out as, I mean, his early life, his grandmother ran like massage parlor brothels in this town. And his mother was a working girl for them. His father was like the muscle for the brothel and everything. And he was raised in kind of a crazy lifestyle. He used to see his parents have like brutal fights and stuff. He went to Catholic school and then was kicked out when they found out what his family did for a living. And from 8th grade on, he was on his own and ended up having all kinds of odd jobs before he got into comedy. And he got into doing stand-up comedy and performing in New York, and was kind of like a clean comic. He was getting on TV and doing all kinds of stuff. He was a lot like, he looked up to Bill Cosby. And one night when he was on stage at the Aladdin in Las Vegas, it just dawned on him that he wasn't doing what he wanted to do. He wasn't doing what he was born to do. And he looked out at the crowd and he's just like, what the F am I doing here? He just threw his microphone down and left. And he kind of retired from comedy for a little while, listened to a lot of jazz music and read Malcolm X, and then came back doing comedy with a true edge. I mean, true edge, talking about his life and, you know, his battles and the crazy stories that he would encounter while doing drugs. He'd end up setting himself on fire that way. He said one night when he was just completely out of his mind, like freebasing, he decided to dump brandy all over himself and light himself on fire, and ended up bursting out the window of his house and running down the street, and suffered 3rd-degree burns. They didn't even think he was gonna live.
And then, you know, a year later, he's on stage laughing and talking about it and joking about how fast you can run when you're on fire and everything. And he would talk about, you know, how he was, you know, he was bisexual. He had no problem with talking about, you know, what he liked about men and women. He was a big womanizer, had a lot of wives, had a lot of kids. I mean, he lived life to the fullest and went down as a guy who really, in a time where comedy nobody had seen anything like him. He was really vulgar. He was, I mean, but with a point. It wasn't just for the sake of it. And people saw that. I mean, like, they wanted him on Saturday Night Live. Lorne Michaels did, and when NBC didn't want him to, Lorne resigned from the show until they said that Richard could do the show. And then when Richard was given his own show on television, you know, they wanted to restrict all the things he could do, so he quit before they ever aired the first show, and then they had to beg him to come back. And even at that, he only stuck around for like 4 episodes and had everything his way. He had the writers he wanted and the actors he wanted, and he really called the shots. Now here it says, Richard Pryor, more than just a comedian. Richard Pryor was a world-class comedian and social critic who used his art to break down stereotypes and reflect on racism and other social issues in an unflinching manner. Against impossible odds, he achieved massive success on a global scale. Pryor spoke truth to power and changed the ways we as a society deal with issues of race and social class. His unusual, personal, and insightful art, definitely, was a powerful window into his own vulnerable soul, but also a window into a society that still struggles to extend equality and dignity to all humanity. He was awarded the inaugural Kennedy Center Mark Twain Prize for American Humor in 1998. And in his later days, they found out that he had suffered from several heart attacks and had survived them, and then they found out that he had multiple sclerosis. So that really limited what he could do. He had trouble getting around, and my friend Jeff Scott was the piano player for the Comedy Store, and he was saying that Richard got to a point where he would come to the Comedy Store like 2 nights a week, and somebody would have to help him on stage. Like, he had a guy that traveled around with him, and you know, Richard would have to sit in a chair, or they would have to bring him in his wheelchair or whatever, or he would go up there with a cane. And said, but once he got going, he was the old Richard with the great insight that you always heard about and everything. The magic was still there. So he was doing that until he passed away. I think he ended up in 2005 having another heart attack and sadly did not survive it. But like I said, since he doesn't have an actual grave you can go visit, this is like the coolest next best thing. And it's I mean, talk about great stand-ups, you know. I can't even say some of the titles of the specials that were so good, but he always talked about things that, you know, other people were thinking, or you just couldn't even fathom what he was talking about. But I loved his movies. I loved Brewster's Millions and The Toy and all the movies he did with Gene Wilder. And he was supposed to originally be the sheriff on Blazing Saddles, but he was so unpredictable they couldn't trust that he would show up to filming every day, so they made him a writer, and even during that he disappeared, ended up in Cleveland and couldn't explain how. The things legends are made of. They did a freaking fantastic job on this statue. I've seen a lot of statues and they don't always look like the people, but this one looks dead on identical to the great Richard Pryor in the days that I remember. Stay